Hi there. In this video, I'm going to be discussing playing faster on the 5-string banjo in bluegrass style. So playing faster is something a lot of players want. A lot of players get hung up on it, and it takes a lot of work and it's difficult. But I'm going to break down a few tips that hopefully might help you out. Position down is key to any kind of good fast banjo playing. I won't go too heavily into hand position, but you don't want your hand doing anything awkward. You don't want your body awkward with the banjo. Generally sitting towards the front of a chair if you're sitting, standing up with the strap, with your banjo at a comfortable height, and not having a lot of tension in the wrist. You don't want your wrist way up like that. You don't want it way back like that. Generally, you want your knuckles above, roughly above the strings that those fingers are going to be picking, and just nice and relaxed, usually planting a couple fingers down. Address the fundamentals of rhythm and tone and volume. So again, it's just addressing the fundamentals, but these are the things that will affect your playing fast. If your playing doesn't sound any good when it's slower, the flaws with it are going to be compounded when you try and play faster. So just making sure that that your rhythm, if you're playing an even roll, that it's nice and rhythmically even. Whatever you're playing in a piece, that it's the correct rhythm. So working those things out slowly, and also just your volume, evenness of the volume of the strings, making sure one finger isn't plucking louder than the other fingers. Checking your fingering. So with whatever you're working on playing fast, say you're playing just a forward roll, make sure you're using the correct finger. So you might have it written out somewhere, and it might have the right hand fingering written down. A lot of pieces will have the right hand fingering written down. They also might not. The main rule is you don't want to be doubling up on fingers, using one finger over and over again, because that'll slow you down. So checking the fingering, just making sure there's nothing in the fingering that can slow you down. Even if your fingering is all correct for almost the entire piece, if there's one spot where you might double up on the index finger, that can slow you down or just be a hitch. So look through with that. Those things can be things that can be slowing you down. Practice with a metronome. So the metronome or a drum machine can be your best friend as far as working on speed. The one great thing about it is that it has perfect time, so it reinforces good rhythm habits. And the other thing is it makes it possible to gauge where your speed is at and gauge any progress in your playing, and if you're getting any faster. If you don't play with the metronome, it can be difficult. It can be difficult to tell, am I playing faster than I did 2 weeks ago? It's hard to say. With the metronome, you can gauge where your speed's at. Say, okay, I'm playing my rolls at 80 beats a minute, and gradually move up from there. And you can track your progress with the metronome. Relax. What can slow people down a bit is feeling really tense, like feeling like there's a lot of tension inside of you, and everything's going to get screwed up, and you can just feel in your fingers everything's taut and tense. Then it's not going to work well if you're all tense. You need to relax. Just keep the hand feeling limber. Push yourself outside of your comfort zone. So usually people they'll reach a plateau at a certain point, and wherever you're at, you'll have what you're comfortable playing at, the speed where you feel comfortable. So it could be, if you're playing with a metronome, you might find, okay, I'm at 70 and everything's fine at 70. And when I get past 70, it all falls apart. So I'm just going to keep everything at 70. And sometimes people plateau and they'll just sort of have their maximum speed that they play everything at, and then they just keep playing at that speed. And if you stay with that, it's just not going to get any faster. So to get to a faster speed, you have to push yourself outside of that comfort zone, and that's something you can do you can do it without the metronome as well. Just push yourself to play it faster. But with the metronome, it's much easier to gauge, to say, okay, I turn the metronome up faster, I'm playing it faster. But pushing yourself outside of that comfort zone and forcing you to play at a faster tempo is the only way of really getting there. So visualize. You need to be able to imagine yourself playing at whatever speed you want to play at before you can actually play at that speed. Taking a moment to visualize what you're playing, or however long it takes. You can take minutes just thinking about it, but visualizing yourself playing at a faster speed, you need that. Easing off the power when you're pushing to a faster speed, which some people might not agree with, but I found it's worked well for students sometimes. Sometimes it can feel like you reach and people are powering really, and then they try and go faster and it falls apart. If you ease off on the power a little just to get into the next speed, it can sometimes be a bit of a breakthrough and can feel like an effective. Now the thing is, you don't really want to play quieter at faster speeds all the time, but it can get you into that place of playing a little faster and freeing up your hand a little bit. Then once you get to playing at the faster tempos, you can start putting the speed in, or putting the volume in a little bit more. Really listen to banjo players playing songs where it's a little bit faster than what you're used to, but maybe not that far off, because if it's too far off, it can be hard to even understand the difference between, if you're playing at 70 beats per minute and the song's 170 beats per minute, it can be hard to bridge that gap of the difference. But if you're playing at 70 beats per minute and you listen to a good banjo player playing at like 90 beats per minute on a song, then that can be helpful. Experiment with your proximity to the bridge. So where you play in relation to the neck or the bridge will determine a couple things. It'll determine your tone. It's darker tone towards the neck, more trebly towards the bridge, and it will also affect the closer you go towards the bridge, the tighter the strings will feel. Sometimes playing closer to the bridge, your fingers will bounce off the strings a little bit more because it feels more like a solid object. It can also be more difficult because it is more solid towards the bridge. You can experiment with moving your hand, different distances from the bridge. Play with people who are faster than you. So it's, again, same idea, pushing you outside of your comfort zone, but sometimes the social aspect of it is also helpful. If you're playing with people who play a little bit faster than you, probably not who play way too fast for you, because that can just be disheartening. But if you play with people who are a little bit faster than you, that can push you to play faster, and also socially, if you go out to a jam and you're playing with a group of people and it's going, 3 hours can fly by like nothing, whereas practicing on your own for 3 hours can feel like a lot of banjo practice. At a jam, it can kind of fly by in the social situation, and you also sometimes hardly even notice how much you're getting pushed in terms of the tempo. Don't be afraid to get messy when you're pushing your speed. So just if you're pushing outside of your comfort zone to something you're not used to, there's two ways you can do it. You can try and get everything absolutely perfect and speed it up notch by notch on the metronome, or you can push it up to where it's not comfortable. You won't at all be able to play it totally clean at that speed, but just try and kind of get it at that speed and try and hang on and try and get in that headspace of that tempo, and just don't be afraid of this sounds terrible, it sounds messy. Just try and get there. And sometimes once you get in there and you start doing it, then you can clean up when you're starting to move around at that tempo. You're starting to think at that tempo and your hands are starting to move at that tempo. Then you can worry about cleaning that up. But sometimes just going for a little bit messy when you're pushing outside of your comfort zone, and just say like, okay, I'm just going to go for it and get whatever I can at this tempo. Let it be messy, and then clean it up and get it sounding like you want to. Don't feel like speed is the be all and end all of everything. It's a great thing to work on, but music is music, and enjoying it, expressing yourself is the most important thing. If you're ever feeling down about the speed, take a break and just enjoy picking the banjo and come back to working on the speed when you feel like it. Anyway, those are a few of my ideas. Let me know if that helps you out at all, or doesn't help you out, or however you feel about that. And yeah, have a good day.